Okay, this video is for Evie, who I hope is still my fiance, and who I'm hoping I will be meeting soon, finally. And I'd like to let you know, Evie, that I still feel the same, and uh, am hoping that I'll see you at ICQ Dutch, which ICQ Dutch is not the way it used to be, and I don't like it the way it is now. So I haven't been going there as much. And when that change took place, I stopped going there for a few months, and uh, um, so I thought of making another video. How long has it been? It's been, maybe it seems like it's been around a year since I've made any YouTube videos. So there's a lot of things I'd like to tell you about, and I'm still I still feel the same way, and I guess I've kind of just put it in the back of my mind, and or put you in the back of my mind, and I have met some girls that I'm not, or a girl that I'm just been friendly with. I don't really know her, and I wouldn't call her a girlfriend, but if you'll please excuse me, Mitt, this is one of the guys here that keeps stalking me. You know, he's fixed right in on when I said that, and he has an obsession with letting on to it that he's keeping me alone here. And he's doing that right now I'd like America, everyone in America, to know that he's doing that right now, right when I'm speaking, right as I speak. You know, so he comes back to slipping me in on it that he has abducted me and is keeping me alone here. So he pinpointed it right in on that, and as they keep coming back to letting me in on it, that they're getting in the way of my attempts to get to know girls over here. So I've tried, Mitt, this is for you too. I've tried on so many occasions to have someone take off on him, and recently there was a cop over here threatening to break my neck with Karen over here, and or Karen picked something out to let on to it that she's got connections with cops that play parts for her, and or gave off the appearance that I've been steering myself onto her little girls. It's a nice place here, real nice place. This is the kind of thing that they've used to abduct me with, so or keep me alone over here. They've got a system. They team up with each other. A lot of people team up with each other over here to offer what it takes to keep me alone here. Keep reoffering what it takes to be able to get by with keeping me alone here, or slip by with re-abducting me. So, or re-abducting to keep. That's what's happened, and so which while I'm brought this up, they're just constantly putting fixes on me here and or locking on to me. When they do that, it's usually when you would put a fix on someone that's it's been very suggestive when they've been putting fixes on me. Like say for instance when I took my cat out in the backyard, it's been many occasions fixes have been put on me when I've been affectionate with my cat. So I would like everyone in America to know that there was a cop over here threatening to snap my neck or using something to suggest that to the public that it's been determined that I was making something magical, using someone intoxicated to steer over on me with to suggest that it's been determined that I was making something magical out of a vandalous sex act I was pushed into when I had water on the brain. So I'd like everyone in America to know I do not like it here. It's been a concealed abduction for 25 years here, and they just fly right into lying about me and repeatedly are making attempts to slip off with me or take something I have. So are just constantly interfering in my attempts to get into real sexual situations, bobbing around me and resurfacing back up on me, making very suggestively timed appearances, lots of whoops and whirls up close to my apartment building, particularly when there would be good opportunities for real sex acts, and just really going at it over here. Slipping around all the time, as I've said, constantly fixing in on me in here or letting me in on it that they're watching me. Just probably 100 occasions I've been fixed in on at adult websites and in ways to give off the appearance that I'm losing a handle on myself, and it's something that's added to by the warning-like appearances that they're giving me when I'm out in public. So, which I would like to let the public in on everything that took place, which I think I'll do that right now off of the top of my head. I'd like to let everyone in America know that when I was a little boy, my parents went somewhere and they left me with a babysitter that raped me, or I was going to take a bath and then she had me lay on top of her on the sofa in our living room, and I had no clothes on and she was in her bra and panties. I think that happened on more than one occasion, and there was also something screwy about my grandmother wanting to apply cold cream or some kind of salve on my testicles when I was younger than that. I think I was just like a toddler, which I can recall running into her room and spreading out on her bed, and she was putting cold cream, I think, on my genitals. So, okay, then there was Lamplighter Village, a mobile home park that my parents, I was living at, where we moved, and a child or an older child, I think, had taken me to an abandoned mobile home up on a hill just at the entrance of Lamplighter Village. It was a great big mobile home park back in the 70s. And this abandoned mobile home was off behind where you sign in, or the rental office, a little building. So also Mitt Romney, U.S. Customs, someone's putting a fix on me right at this moment. They keep coming back to suggesting to the public that I'm lying, which I think this judge that I was forced into seeing picked something out to have done with me to make that appeal very convincing with, that I've made these things up. So okay, back to back in the 70s. When we were living in that mobile home park, an older child took me to a mobile home, and there were pornographic pictures posted all over it. So it was behind where you rent the mobile homes. There's a little house, or a little office, where you would go to rent a mobile home there. Back behind there, kind of off in the woods a little bit, may have even been in view of that, up on a hill at the entrance of Lamplighter Village. This child took me to that mobile home, and there were pornographic pictures posted all over it. So also back in the 70s, when I was attending what's called an open school, the teacher there had us sit around on the carpet. I believe she was in a rocking chair, and I'm thinking maybe I was 7 or 8 or so, 7, 8, 9. I can't. Anyway, she had picked her nose, was rolling the mucus in between her thumb and forefinger in front of us, in front of all of us, and then dropped the mucus on the carpet. So then there was, I believe after that, then there was an occasion that someone had left a satanic pornographic magazine photograph on the porch of a tutoring trailer I was in at a school I was at. I was in a mobile home, tutoring mobile home, and it was announced over the intercom that that photograph had been left on the entrance to the mobile home, and the kids got up and went over and looked at it, and it was a grotesque image of a woman that had been impaled, a naked woman impaled on a stake. I think the stake going up through her vagina. So I got a glimpse of it, and it was strange, the way that it was almost like it was something that was being intended on being used to draw children to it. So, okay, then there was, trying to think, what happened next? Eddie King, around that time, he had raped me in a pup tent and had winded up ejaculating on me, on top of me, had made enough attempts to penetrate me, and which I think he may have attempted to do that before. I was camping out at his house. This was back when I think I was 12 or something like that. 10, 12, I don't know. 12, 13. Okay, this was, then right around that age, my parents took me out of public schools and placed me in accelerated Christian education, where Mr. Mathers, who was the reverend there, who was a weightlifting coach, wanted to see all of the boys naked. I was weightlifting on a weightlifting team there. And then there was an occasion he wanted to examine us all without our underwear on, which I did not go along with. And he was also picking the children up and cracking their vertebrae, hoisting children up in a bear-like hug and to try to get snaps and pops out of their spines. Which I think that had taken place not around the time I had a lot of flatulence. I'd let out a lot of flatulence as a child in class. So, and then there was Mike Boyd, I think, or there were two people in my past with the name Boyd, I think. So it's really creepy, you know. So that happened there. Mike Boyd and I can't think of his name. Okay, then I think maybe John Helms. I can't remember his name. I think his name was John Helms. One of the guys that. Let me skip that. Let me go back to this. Which there had been a lot to taking. It was set into motion, you know, something to steer me into something vandalous. Back when I was 13, I think Daryl Plyler had led on to having a girlfriend that was 11 or 12. I think he was 18, and I can recall him saying, "What's going on?" and "Get me some lip." And had got me drunk on whiskey. I think I was 13. Had taken me to a Black Sabbath concert and was giving me cigarettes so that's back when that testicle surgery took place. Back when something happened to a surgical procedure was performed on me that's performed on people that on you if you lose restraint over yourself or toying around with yourself sexually and wind up causing yourself an injury or exhaust a testicle by excessive masturbation. Okay, so which that's not something I actually did. So I do think that there was something fishy about it, and that injury was caused by someone pinching it, my testicle. So something to use me to pull off of disgraceful sex acts. So then there was what was done to lure me into something with my sister, Lynette, who I think was Italian. And around the time that took place, Bob Nuttall's father had fondled himself in front of me. Bob Nuttall in the kitchen. Bob Nuttall's father, when I was staying over at his house. And my sister was placing herself on top of me, and in tight hot pink shorts. So that was used to draw me into sex play with her or something predatory like. So okay, then there had been an occasion my father had said, my father was often walking around, my adopted father, William Montgomery, was often walking around my brothers and me and my brothers and sisters wearing a pair of draping BVDs, and you could see his. So I think it was possible to see not only his testicles but his penis. So, which I can recall all of us remarking on it. That's something I brought up to my grandmother. So, which I think she said something to let me in on it, that she was bringing attention to it at the convenience store she was working at. Which I think may have been something that had to do with what happened to her. What she had told me about someone when she was a cashier at the store in Waxhaw, close to where we live, the convenience store. She had told me that someone came in there in a pair of jean cutoffs, and that she could see his testicles, and had kind of a look of fascination, or a glimmery look in her eyes. So, or a sparkly, kind of a delighted look. So, okay, that happened, I guess, when I was about 13. Then my father had said to him he doesn't want to wear those shorts because they'll show his penis, his little penis. That's back when I was a teenager, and he said that in front of all of my family members. So, so that happened. Then I can remember when I was 14 years old, he wanted me to shower with him, which I had water on the brain. That's back when I had water on the brain and my neck was in much worse condition than it is now. So he took me in the shower and wanted to show me how to take a shower properly, how to not to miss things, behind your ears and things like that, which I thought was pretty strange, and I didn't like it. So, and I would not lie about something like that. Also, my father had told me a story about a child that when he was washing dishes that he had lived, it was near the beach, I think in Conway, South Carolina. He got a job as a boy washing dishes, and they would sleep there. And that one of the boys that was with him when they would sleep there at night tied a string around the boy's testicles and tied the string around the boy's toe, and then did something to startle him. So, which I thought was strange to tell me a story like that. So, also when I was in associating with my first wife's homosexual boyfriend, I can recall my father, my adopted father, the man who adopted me, bearing a resemblance to someone homosexual back when I was back then, after I married my first wife, Melissa Martino, and was being steered with by Heston Hearn, her homosexual boyfriend, which he masturbated in front of me and ejaculated, and made a number of attempts to try to penetrate my rectum when I gave some very obvious indications of not liking it or not feeling comfortable with it, and put his mouth on my member on one occasion, and I finally And he was using something satanic to have an influence on me to pry sex acts out of me. Was into the temple of Sonic Youth, and I can recall feeling strange, feeling like something I'd eaten had been laced. I can remember him saying, "You need something with protein in it," which he was a vegetarian. I felt very much like on one occasion that I had been slipped something, and they were some kids staying at a old 2-story house in Waxhaw that I was going over to, and I think they had an interest in Satanism or the occult. And I can also recall one of the children wearing a beaded necklace that would have looked like something my grandmother had in fire engine red. So I think that's something that should be investigated. And I can remember them taking me somewhere to a fast food restaurant or something and saying stoked. One of them saying something about really being stoked, which I do think they weren't just dabbling. I think they had connections with people that were deeply into Satanism. Heston Hearn had a station wagon with a big rubber snake on the dash of it, and he was into punk rock. Homosexual punk rock, and which Melissa Martino, my first wife's brother, was into The Cure. So which I'm accusing Heston Hearn of raping me on more than one, maybe 3 or 4 occasions, maybe 4 occasions, and had me sleeping with him on one occasion, and the last time I saw him, he was making an attempt to penetrate my rectum, and it was at night, and I decided that I didn't like it, and I left, and I felt strange, like I'd been slipped something. So that happened, and let me see what happened after that. Then there was Tom Query, the man who adopted 2 adopted boys from my mother, who took me squirrel hunting and had turned to me and flapped his penis, which was swollen, at me as a boy. So, and there had been occasions he was having flatulence at family gatherings, and there was something sexually suggestive about him taking me to his shop and letting me fire his musket, which he had also said something with fucking galley slave in it, which later on something was used to get me to get something sexually vandalous out of me, something abductive-like was used to, I think, played a big part in prying something sexually vandalous out of me around two little girls. So that was something that was stuck in my mind, I think, that it would be known would scare me over I think it was being planned on using to crack something sexually vandalous out of me. So, okay, Tom Query. Thinking what else had happened. There's John Helms. I'm thinking John Helms had also made an attempt to get sex acts out of me. which I think he was homosexual, and he had said something to me that was, he had taken me to somewhere remote and had said something to me about sticking gumballs on thorns. And he had also had something that looked like something that would be used to practice voodoo on someone. It was a dark black crystal ball, and he when he had taken me to where he lived, and there was something strange about it. He told me his father was in a wheelchair, and there was something torturous about something his father did upstairs. It was like a long flight of stairs into a basement-like thing that was his room, and his father was, I think he had told me, was reliant on him to eat, or reliant on him for things. And I think it was something that was used to, also something that was used to scare me over something, over the thought of being abducted in an attempt, in disappointment over not doing something. That was used as something to trip me back to Tom Query saying a fucking galley slave, in which he cleaned out incinerators. So, okay, John, which I had met John where I was staying for a while, and he was just pushing on me quite a bit for homosexual sex acts. So then there was John, and then there was, in which James Barber had done the same thing here in Jacksonville when I had been friends with him when I still had water on the brain. He had told me he was living next to where people are treated for insanity. He was living in his father's old 2-story house, and it's off Riverside, I think it's off Riverside or James Street or something. Anyway, he was teaching me how to play guitar. I was trying to overcome my fear of singing, and he had long hair, and he was into Neil Young. And I went over to his father was out of town, and I went over to this, it looked like a 70s 2-story house that his father had. He told me his father was out of town, and we were playing guitar with each other, and I'd asked to use his bathroom. When I came back, he was seated cross-legged. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was on a mattress, seated cross-legged, either with his shirt open or with it off, and in a pair of boxer shorts. So I took off, and there was just as down near 5 Points. This is around the time he wanted me to go over. I think this had taken place after he had sent me to Subway to get a tuna fish sandwich. So it was late at night. So I just took off. I told him I'm going to leave. I made up something and just. I told him I was just in shock over it. So which there was something sexually. Later, when I had seen him again, he was moving to Dallas, Mexico. He told me, I think. And gathering his things together. He had been selling, he had said something about chili. It's like a homosexual like connotation led on to anal sex or something. Which I thought nothing of it. His mention of Chile with friends. Well, after that took place over at his place, I think he was gay and he was pushing on me for gay sex. So, and he had shown me a German pistol. He was getting his things together and preparing to leave to go to Mexico. That's the last time I saw him. I couldn't help feeling like he was a professional musician. He had told me he had played in clubs, and I just seemed something familiar about him. So, it's like he was Don. I know it sounds ridiculous. I swear to God, it was like he resembled Don Henley. So, okay, that took place here. Okay, now at Cam Lee, a Kung Fu martial arts studio, they were offering massages and this is here, and I think this happened about 13 years ago, something like that, 13, 14 years ago. May have been, anyway, I went to the Cam Lee Kung Fu Academy off 103rd Street, and they were to get a massage. They had a massage table there. And this guy slipped his hand underneath me on this chair and caressed up against my genitals and my rectum with his hand. And this place was located next to a family Food Lion, and it was all glassed in. It was facing the Food Lion parking lot. So then there had been an occasion here when a woman had ran up to me with her breasts exposed over at what used to be Winn-Dixie on Commonwealth, over near the Vietnamese Buddhist temple. I was going to back then. So I had also went to an acupuncture place, Sunbeam, off of Sunbeam Acupuncture, and I could swear that she in the booth next to the booth I was in, that she was giving this guy a blowjob, and that was something that was used to steer me into something I did there. So, which actually would not be considered as something molested. I did not have an erection, and it had not come on to or expressed any kind of sexual interest in her. So, which I had been exposed there. My genitals were exposed. So, but it was after something had taken place that would have been very much like something to crack me in on it, that they were engaging in sex acts there, something to lead on to going along with it or joining in with it. So it's very unlike, I'm almost certain of it, that she was performing oral sex on him. I was right next door. They were curtains on the booths, so it's very audible. So, it would have been known how torturous that would have been. And I would not imagine something like that. I don't take myself into making superimposers like that. Get under a horny spell and imagine things like that. Okay, I would have imagined that. Back then I was lured into something sexually twistedly exhibitionistic, which I was going to a home shopping network. I had a lot of water on the brain, and was, I guess, in a Down syndrome like state, and the condition of my cervical vertebrae. So I was lured into peep shows. There were a number of occasions orgasmic-like sounds had been made by HSN salespeople that friends of mine in business will bear witness to, and also something extremely out of the ordinary. It was very much like something to let me in on it, or give the go-ahead to, or let me in on it that it's okay to wind up in something shockingly out of place, which he had said something with pussy in it, a news anchor or a weather forecaster on one morning when back then. So also my severely retarded wife had ordered something that I was seeing on sale at HSN that would double well as a sexual vibrator. So
Are you using the phone?
no, I'm not, Nee.
Let me have it.
Why do you need my phone?
I'm going to take a call with that phone.